Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Within minutes of the Parkland, Florida massacre, our media identified a villain. It wasn't the 19-year-old who actually pulled the trigger. CNN actually published a piece last night scolding the president for calling him crazy. That was a slur, according to them. No, the real killer, the media told us, was the NRA, along with millions of law-abiding gun owners. Blood was on their hands. Well, a few days later, now that we have some facts, it turns out it's not so simple. It turns out that government at all levels played a role in allowing this massacre to happen. In fact, a much larger role than we knew or ever would have guessed. The details are shocking. Here's part of what we've learned so far. The Broward County Sheriff's Office received at least 23 calls related to Nikolas Cruz and his family. In 2016, a deputy was told directly that Cruz was threatening to shoot up his school, the one he shot up, and had taken photographs of himself with firearms. That information was forwarded to Deputy Scott Peterson. That name sounds familiar. That is the exact security guard at Stoneman Douglas High School who hid outside during the shooting and refused to go inside as 17 people were murdered. Apparently doing nothing was a habit of Peterson's. President Trump weighed in on him today on his way to CPAC. Watch.
When it came time to get in there and do something, he didn't have the courage or something happened. But he certainly did a poor job. There's no question about that. He was there for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes. That was during the entire shooting. He heard it right at the beginning. So he certainly did a poor job. But that's a case where somebody was outside, they're trained, they didn't react properly under pressure, or they were cowards.
Scott Peterson may not have been the only coward on the scene. Brand new reports tonight suggest that 3 other Broward County deputies arrived at the school during the massacre but did not enter or attempt to pursue Cruz. Instead, they hid outside behind their vehicles until Coral Springs police officers arrived and found them. Inaction appears to be a defining quality in the Broward County Sheriff's Office. Last November, Broward County was warned that Cruz was a school shooter in the making and was collecting weapons with which to do it. They didn't even write a report on the tip, and instead they told the tipster to report Cruz to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. That's how local police responded, or didn't respond. The state wasn't much better. Later in 2016, despite evidence of suicidal behavior by Cruz and his expressed desire to buy a firearm, the Florida Department of Children and Families decided that somehow he was not a threat to himself or others. If they decided otherwise, Cruz would have been involuntarily committed and would have been barred from buying a gun. So in case you're wondering, how was this guy able to buy a gun? That's how. And then there's the FBI, the feds. In September 2017, the FBI was warned that a YouTube user named Nikolas Cruz, spelled correctly, had written this, quote, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." He wrote that online. The FBI now says that was not enough information to identify who made that remark, and they were unable to investigate, despite the fact that Cruz gave his real name spelled in the unusual way that it is spelled. In January 2018, the FBI was warned again that Cruz was planning to shoot up a school and were given specific information about his erratic behavior, his gun collecting, his expressed desire to kill people. He did not hide that. The tipster warned that Cruz was, quote, going to explode, and worried it was just a matter of time before he, quote, was in a school and shooting the place up. The caller also told the FBI that she made the call because she wanted a, quote, clear conscience if he takes off and just starts shooting places up. In response, the FBI did nothing. They didn't even bother to forward that tip to their Miami field office, so it died. The school system failed as well, and badly. In 2013, school officials decided to radically cut down on in-school arrests, claiming that school discipline was racially biased. The school simply stopped referring students to police for assault and drug use and numerous other crimes, actual crimes. Total arrests declined from more than 1,000 a year to fewer than 400. So in spite of getting in trouble with school authorities repeatedly, Cruz was never arrested, he was never charged, never convicted, never stopped from buying a gun. The schools failed, the local police failed, the Florida state bureaucracy failed, the officer on duty failed, the FBI failed. The government's first duty is protecting its citizens. They failed. Ultimately, citizens have to defend themselves. The message could not be clearer, and yet the same government officials who failed to protect us are saying we don't have a right to protect ourselves. Michael Graham is a Boston Herald columnist and host of Michael in the Morning podcast at Ricochet.com, and he joins us tonight to assess this cascade of failures and the self-righteousness that have followed. So this seems like, to me, Michael, the biggest case of deflection on record. The government officials, rather than stopping and saying, you know what, we screwed up, and we're going to find out why, are saying, America, it's your fault.
You know, when you listen to you recounting all those events, obviously the culprit, Tucker, is the NRA. If only the NRA were destroyed, then we would solve all these problems. I love this argument that we are not competent enough to own guns to protect ourselves because we're too stupid, we'll shoot our eye out, whatever, so we have to rely on government. So we say, okay, how about the government? Well, actually, they're out in the parking lot hiding, waiting till the shooting's over. So can I have a gun then? Oh, no, that just proves that guns don't work. It's a heads I win, tails you lose argument from people who want to restrict gun rights.
It really, something's going on here, though, because I still have respect for, affection for law enforcement. I know a million of them, great people, protect us here at Fox, grateful to them. But here you have, apparently, according to reports tonight, 4 separate armed cops or deputies, sheriff's deputies, refusing to go in. You can't tell me that all 4 of them were just cowards. I mean, is there some policy in place? If you took a cross-section of Americans, just pick 4, at least one of them would have gone in. None of these guys did. What is that about?
That's a very good point, because a normal person could not stand there with a gun and listen to kids get killed without running in the door.
Right.
I wrote a piece for the Federalist today going back and looking at other incidents where the cops stayed outside. People forget the Orlando massacre, which was the worst shooting in modern America until Las Vegas. The cop actually had a gun exchange with the killer. The killer goes in, the cop stays outside. Then he waits, and the SWAT shows up, and they stand outside 3 hours while murdering is going on inside. In Newtown, according to the Judicial Review afterwards, a cop stood outside for 4 or 5 minutes listening to the gunfire and did not go in the building. And so there are 2 branches here. One is cowardice. I think the president is right to make that point. But the other is training that departments still haven't figured out how they're going to deal with these issues. Columbine was supposed to be the turning point. We know people waited outside at Columbine because we'd never seen a Columbine. It's kind of like 9/11. You can't blame people for not understanding 9/11. We'd never seen it. Well, this is the post-9/11, post-Columbine moment. Just as people on an airplane will never sit and wait, for the hijackers to take the plane anywhere, police should not sit and wait for people to die inside the building. And the argument I got today, and I heard from a lot of police officers today, is, you don't understand, Michael, if we go in, there'll be danger. Wait, there's a guy with a gun in there. They're dead people. I think the danger part's already covered. And then the second, and this is truly disturbing, and I'm with you. My uncle is retired LAPD. He was honored for heroism twice. His brother was a deputy. I have law enforcement in my family. The vast majority want to do the right thing.
Yes.
But the number of police officers who have told me point blank, my number one job is to go home safe at night to my family. And they point to a Supreme Court case that says that police do not have a duty to protect you. And I think to myself, if that's really how you view the world, if you're really, your number one job is to go home safe at night, then you need to find a mall that needs a security guard and do that for a living. The reason we honor cops is that cops do that amazing thing.
Exactly.
They see danger, and they see an innocent person and themselves, and they say, I'm going to choose to get between the innocent person and the bad guy. That's why we honor cops. We don't honor cops because they have the best policy and they sit outside a car waiting for the SWAT team.
If they don't want to protect us, that's fine, but don't prevent us from protecting ourselves. I mean, let's just be honest about what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
Michael, thank you for that. That was really insightful.
Thank you.